Okay, I think we are live. We are live. Can you hear me okay, Natalie? Awesome. Okay, I am going to just refresh the, whoa, what's going on? I am here, Sarah Amelia here from Declutter My Home and Decluttering Club, and I'm here with my dear friend Natalie, and we are going to talk about boundaries today. So if people are coming on, let's see, we don't have anyone quite yet. Natalie, tell us a little bit about your background and why boundaries is such a great topic for you.
There is so much to talk about with boundaries, and I'm super excited. We could just go down 5 million rabbit trails, but boundaries. I became aware of boundaries a few years ago because I was in a very painful place in my life, and I started going to therapy and realized that one of my biggest problems was that I didn't have healthy boundaries, and it was affecting all of the relationships in my life. My relationships with employees, my relationships with my family, my relationships with my family of origin, my relationships with my kids, and even my own relationship with myself. And so I started learning,
Okay, I'm sorry, guys. Is anybody else there? Are you guys still? Can you guys see me? It's like we've lost Natalie. We may have to restart here.
oh, now I can see you.
You're back. Oh, yay. Okay. Hopefully people are going to be able to come back on here.
Okay.
That was weird. I don't know what happened there. I'm not sure what you went out and then I went out initially and then I came back and now you're back. All right. Well, we're just going to go with it. Hopefully people are coming back in. What was this? Oh, so before we talk about how to use boundaries and all that kind of stuff, can you define, like, what do you mean when you say a boundary? What does that mean?
Well, the way oops. Oh, I can
we lose you? I can hear you. I can hear you.
The way that I like to think about boundaries is like a neighborhood. So each of us has our own house. Every person has their own house to take care of, and that your boundaries are the lines that go between what belongs to you, like your side of the yard, and then what belongs to your neighbor.
Okay.
And so learning how to maintain your boundaries is just recognizing that I am in charge and responsible and in control of everything in my yard and in my home, that I am not responsible or in control of anything that is beyond those boundaries. And my neighbor is not responsible for mine. He's responsible for his. And the neighbor could be anyone from your spouse, your coworker, your colleague, your family member, your child. That's your neighbor. So does that make sense?
So I have my house, which is like a concept, and so I'm in charge of my house and what goes on there, but I shouldn't try to control what's going on in someone else's house. That's what you're saying here.
Right. And your house is who you are. It's your life. It's the things that you choose to do with your time, the way that you choose to live your life, the decisions that you make, all the responsibilities that you have, though that's your house.
Okay, cool. Okay, I'm just going to share this over into our group here so that they can join us. But okay, cool. Okay, so you were saying that having boundaries is like the difference between being a child and being an adult, right?
Yes, because children tend to, well, for one thing, they do one of two things. You can cross boundaries in one of two ways. One way is a hurtful way, where you cross over into someone else's yard or into someone else's life, and you do things that are hurtful. Like maybe you throw rocks at their window, or you walk all over their yard and make tracks in their yard, or pull their flowers. Another way that you could cross boundaries is by, let's see, I gotta look at my notes here.
So what would that be an example? Like if you're using a metaphor, obviously, so that would be like you coming in and yelling at someone, for instance.
Or trying to control them, like coming in and saying, trying to control what they do. Like, for example, if you wanted to go grocery shopping at 5 o'clock and someone said, no, you can't go grocery shopping at 5 o'clock because I want you to stay home and watch the kids so that I can watch TV. For an example, you know what I mean?
Right.
That would be like that would be a hurtful thing because someone's controlling you. They're coming in and controlling. They're doing something that is crossing over into your boundary.
Okay.
But I don't even know if that was a very good example, but I'm thinking off the top of my head. The other way that you can cross so a child can cross a boundary a lot of times by just, no, I'm not going to go there. I'm going to go back to the other part. So the other way is by helping. So you can go over to someone else's yard and start mowing their yard for them. Or let's do it the other way around. Let's say that someone comes into your yard and starts mowing your lawn for you. Or let's say they just come walking into your kitchen and go, you know what? I really don't like the way your kitchen looks. I think it should be cleaner than this. And they start doing your cleaning for you. I mean, some of us would be like, hey, bring it on. You know, we'd love to have someone come in and clean our kitchen. But there would definitely be part of us that would think, excuse me, but this is my kitchen and I don't really, thanks for your opinion that it's dirty, but it's mine and I'd like to take care of my own kitchen. And if they just keep interfering, okay, here's another example of a bad boundary crossing. Let's say that you want to spend Christmas on your own with your own family this year, and your parents or your mother or father wants to control where you spend Christmas, and so they start manipulating the situation and maybe saying things to you that are really hurtful to make you feel like you're neglecting them, you're being dishonoring to them by not spending time with them. You must not love them. You're being self-centered, all those kinds of things. That's a boundary crossing. They're trying to control you and make you do what they want you to do rather than letting you be yourself and do what you feel is best for you and your family for that Christmas season. Does that make sense?
That is huge. Yeah. I mean, I think it's so easy to fall into that trap and think, oh, I must be wrong for me to want to have this Christmas by myself, with our family and not drive, across the state, especially if they really want me and they love me so much. But you're saying that's a boundary crossing and that's them trying to control me.
Yes. A lot of people think that boundaries is selfish. They think if I have boundaries, then that if I, then I am being selfish. If I tell people no, then that's mean. I'm ruining other people's lives. But it's actually not. Having boundaries goes both ways. It's actually very healthy and very unselfish. It's respectful. It's adulting. So it goes both ways. So you're saying to someone, and you wouldn't say to your in-law or your parents, you wouldn't say, we don't really want to be with you, so we're just gonna, we're not gonna spend Christmas with you this year. You would say you would come to them from an adult perspective and you would say, we have really enjoyed spending Christmases with you in the past, and we look forward to doing it again in the future. But this year, there are some extenuating circumstances, and you might go into your spiel about why you've decided to make the adult decision, because you are an adult, make the adult decision not to spend Christmas with them this year. And here's the thing. They may get angry. But then as a child, when we're children, we don't it's very, very hard for us to deal with the strong emotions of other people. We can feel shame, and we can feel, we want them to like us, we want them to love us. But as an adult, we have to recognize, adults learn how to tolerate the disapproval of other people. So as an adult, we can say, you know, I understand that hurts you and that you'd really like to see us. We can empathize with them. You know, I understand your feelings, why you would feel disappointed. Nevertheless is a great word to use. Nevertheless, this is the decision that we have made. And it's just 1 year, and it'll be, you know, and next year hopefully we'll be able to spend time with you next year. And then let it go. And if they decide, I mean, there are many dysfunctional people out there, and some people would go, well, if you're not going to spend Christmas with us, then we want to have nothing to do with you. We disown you for the rest of your living days. Well, if that's what you do, you have to be willing to see this is where you let them, that's their decision for their life. And guess what? They get to make it. You don't control their lives. You control your life. So if they decide that they don't like you anymore because you're skipping Christmas this year with them, that's their choice. They're adults and you're an adult, and you're going to have to be okay with that. That's adulting. So when child in us is like, well, I want my mommy and daddy to like me. But the adult in us says, you know what? My parents don't like me anymore because I'm not spending Christmas with them this year. And that's a real bummer, but I've got a life to live and I need to live it.
Well, yeah, and you know what? I think people that pitch a fit because, you know, you are going to do something that they don't like, even if you did what they wanted in that case, they're probably going to find something else to be unhappy about. So even if you appease them once, then there's going to come up another situation that they're going to try and cross your boundary and, you know, clean your kitchen or mow your lawn where you're going to come up with the same situation. I think also too, if you do set that boundary and kind of stand your ground there, then eventually they may just be like, if they can see that you are serious and that you're not swayed, a lot of times they let it go at that point, don't you think? Have you experienced that?
Well, yes, I think some people who are teachable and they can learn things, they can then learn, oh, you know what, she's got some strong boundaries here, and they have a choice to make. They can either grow in respect for your boundaries, or they can react in anger and push you away. But at least you have made those lines clear to them. And hopefully if they're a mature person and they want to be an adult about it, then hopefully they won't fling sand in your face as a result. So I always think of it I always think of a sandbox. And if you've got someone in your life that's constantly throwing sand at you because you are because you're boundaried, then you know what? That means that you as an adult are hanging out in a sandbox with a bunch of kids, and it's time to get out of the sandbox because you're not a kid anymore. Now, they can stay in the sandbox. That's their choice. They can stay in the sandbox and find someone else to throw sand at. But you'll find that when you stop throwing sand and when you get out of the sandbox, you're going to start attracting other adults, and you're going to begin enjoying an adult life with other adults. And that all the children in your life are going to continue to stay in the sandbox, and they're not going to be attracted to you because kids they want to fight. They want to be throwing sand. They want to be building sandcastles. They want to be messing around with all that ridiculous stuff. And you don't want to be there as an adult.
Wow. Okay. That is so good. That is awesome. Okay. Let's, now this comes up a lot in our group, boundary violations, or, you know, one way or the other, like either people, I have some questions here. So again, we talk about this a lot in the group that, you know, like the kids won't clean up their stuff, right? So kids come home from school and they just throw their stuff on the floor or on the kitchen table, and they're just not interested. And it takes a lot of, the evil eye, the mom eye, or a lot of nagging or whatever to get them to clean up. So how can we set boundaries with kids, or is it appropriate to set boundaries with kids when, they don't want to do just kind of the regular things like everybody needs to? We need to have the kitchen cleaned up, but how do we do this with kids? Like, how does this work?
Yeah, I think that helping our kids to grow up, well, number one, we set a good example. So if we expect our kids to keep a certain space in the house clean, then we need to also be showing them by our own lives that we keep our space clean. So, but on the other hand, we also give them freedom to grow up at their own pace because they are kids. And I guarantee that there's a universal law that children are going to leave their stuff all over the place. It's just in every single home across the entire face of the planet for all of history. That's the, So what you can do lots of different things to motivate them. But one of the things that I do that I've just ended up doing for my own sanity's sake, rather than nagging, which I think is just all that does is it disrespects yourself in some ways, and it doesn't feel good, and it gets really, really old. So rather than nagging, you have a rule. You could have a rule, or you can make up your own rule. One of the things you could do is say, if this particular space, maybe it's the space where everyone dumps off their school stuff when they get home from school. If this space at dinner time is not clean, if your stuff is not in your room, so I let my kids take your stuff to your room. You can do whatever you want to your room. This is my particular rule. Your room is your space. You can make it look like a hellhole if you want to. I don't care because I can just shut the door. But but your stuff doesn't belong in the community space. Mm-hmm. So in the entryway, that's community space. If your stuff is not picked up by dinner time, then you won't be getting a dessert after dinner. We usually have ice cream or a popsicle or something after supper. You won't be getting dessert after supper. So make sure, that your space is cleaned up before dinner. Now, if they don't, and if they go to bed, or maybe they mess up a space before bedtime, I just, in the morning, after they've gone to school, I pick up all the stuff in the community areas, and I chuck it in their rooms. I don't even set it nicely. I just chuck it in the room, and I shut the door. And then they have to figure it out. They have to pick it up and sort through it. Mm-hmm. And eventually what you get is you get kids who can't find their shoes. Mm-hmm. They can't find their homework paper. They can't find their socks. They're missing all their underwear because it's, who knows where their underwear is in the mess that is their room. And they learn by natural consequences that when you live like a little piggy, you have piggy problems, So I keep my space clean to show them how peaceful and wonderful it is to have open spaces and everything put away. But they can do whatever they want to with their space. And they do learn that it's no fun to live in chaotic space. I have had one child who's particularly picky, who after she's cleaned up her room, she's like, I just love being able to walk from one end of my room to the other and not step on anything. It's amazing. And I'm like, yeah, it is amazing. It feels so good, doesn't it? It's so simple. All you have to do is, instead of putting something on the floor, just stick it in your drawer, stick it in the dirty clothes, or put it on your shelf. It's like so easy. But they have to kind of learn these things on their own. This gets you out of the control phase where you're controlling and micromanaging all the stupid nitty gritty of their lives. And it puts them in control of some of their, puts them in control. Now, at the end of the week, I'll sometimes look in their room and go, okay, guys, every room has to be cleaned by the end of this day, or else there's no, and I take away privilege, like iPad time or computer time or whatever it is that they like to do. And then that usually motivates them to clean up. They kind of sort of clean up. And that's fine. I just want to be able to see the floor. That's pretty much all I expect.
So don't micromanage. So let them manage their room, chuck their stuff in their room, And then it kind of frees you up, I guess.
It does. It really does. And so for some of us who are more control freaks and type A, this might be kind of a challenge at first, but this is very, very important because this does not just relate to your kids, but you have to keep telling yourself, I am in control. I can have control of me. I can have control of my space, of my house, of my yard, meaning my life. But I cannot control other people. I cannot control my spouse. I cannot control my friends. I cannot control my kids. So anyway, yeah.
Okay. So that is so important, I think, because when we try to control other people, we frequently just get frustrated. So now what do we do? Let's say we have our spouse, isn't on board with things being nice and clean and tidy and put away, and just really totally refuses to participate in this wonderful thing we call decluttering. What do we do about that? I mean, how do we handle that? Like, how do we approach that? If you've spent all day cleaning up the kitchen, let's say, and it's looking really great, and then he comes home and maybe he cooks something, and then there's just stuff everywhere. It's a disaster. What do we do? How do we handle that? And he refuses. He's like, no, I'm not going to clean it up. Not my job. I don't care. How do we approach that without, losing our minds?
Yeah. Well, I have firsthand experience with this, and I did a couple of things. Number one, I created a space for him that was his space that he was in control of. One area was his desk, and the other area was his closet. And so when he would leave stuff out, this is kind of funny, but I bought a box and I put it in the kitchen so it would be easily accessible. And then every time he put his papers or whatever down all over the place, I would pick them up and put them in the box. And then when that box was filled to overflowing, I moved it to his desk area that was in another room. Well, after a while, there were 4 or 5 boxes chock full of all kinds of miscellaneous stuff on his desk. But see, that's his problem. I don't care what he does with his desk, but I care what my kitchen looks like, because I feel like my kitchen is my jurisdiction. That's my space. Unless someone else wants to volunteer to do all of the cooking, in which case, sorry. Alexa, turn off. Turn off. I must have said something that was like,
oh yeah, it's your Alexa. I thought you were talking to one of your kids.
Sorry. Oh shoot, I don't know what I was thinking.
Well, you were talking about cooking and if they were volunteering for cooking.
Yeah, if I want to volunteer to cook, then they can have the kitchen. That can be their jurisdiction. But as long as I'm the one with the responsibility in that room, then that room becomes my jurisdiction. Mm-hmm. So then the other thing that I would do is I would put stuff in his closet. Mm-hmm. Now I was of the thinking, and I still am, that also we couch all of this in love and respect. So and by the way, speaking of love and respect, many of us have heard of the book Love and Respect. Mm-hmm. And it said that, women love love and men love respect. But the thing is that all human beings need and should show both love and respect. Mm. So boundaries are all about respect. They're respecting yourself, and they're respecting the territory that belongs to another human being.
Yes.
And love is what enables us to sometimes intermingle in between yards in a loving, respectful way. Mm. And so if my husband left his underwear on the floor, I could, out of love, choose to pick that up and put it in the dirty clothes. Mm. Or I could choose, out of spite, to throw it, under his pillow or something stupid like that. Mm. The bottom line is that I think that we should all be showing love. Mm. But if we have also in love, we can talk to that other person and say, when you do this, it creates this kind of atmosphere in our home. And I'm wondering if you would like to work together with me as a couple to create a different kind of an atmosphere in our home. So you talk respectfully, And then you see if they're interested. And if they're not, guess what? There is nothing you can do about that. If they are not interested in partnering with you in creating a certain kind of an atmosphere in your home, then you're on your own. And that's just the bottom line. So adulting would be putting on your big girl pants and saying, okay, I'm on my own here and creating this atmosphere. So I'm going to do the best that I can with my space. And I'm going to let him have his space. So my husband was, he's my former husband. He was not interested in decluttering. He was kind of a pack rat. And so what I did was I put all of his stuff in a certain space in the basement for a while. And now it's all out in the garage and up in the storage, up in the attic. So he's been able to keep his stuff because that's his right. He has a right to keep as much stuff as he chooses to keep. That's his territory. That's his jurisdiction. That's his life. But it doesn't, my life says, but it doesn't have to be in my space. It doesn't have to be in my face every day. And so that was the compromise that we created there. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, oh, absolutely. I guess that balance between understanding, like, and allowing someone else to have things that you might not agree with, but relocating them if they're, if my jurisdiction is the kitchen and they're in the kitchen, then I just move them. That's so brilliant. And I guess, hopefully, like you said, if you're setting a good example and the person is willing to work with you, then they might say, can you help me figure out how to organize this box of papers? Like, you might actually, that might rub off on them. So it might have some positive effects. But if it doesn't, then it's their problem. And it's not in your space, and they just have to figure out what to do about it.
Exactly.
It's hard, isn't it? It's really, really hard. Like, nobody teaches you this kind of stuff, I think.
No.
It's not.
Well, it's not been modeled, really. Relationships it's the way of the world is that we're always either, I don't know if I want to get into this whole thing, but we're always either a victim or we're the persecutor or we're the rescuer. And we just go around and around in that circle. And that does not make healthy relationships. Okay. Healthy relationships don't. So you could be in a relationship. So like, let's take that thing with your husband, so let's say that you're upset because he doesn't want to declutter. So that makes you upset. So you're taking on the victim role. I'm a victim of my circumstances. I'm married to this person and you won't let me declutter. And you've put your husband in the persecutor role. Well, now someone has to come and rescue. You're expecting someone to come and rescue you. So I don't know who would be the rescuer in that case. Probably you. The decluttering club is the rescuer. And so, no, we don't want to.
We're not enabling anything.
No, you're trying to help people. So what you want to do, though, is get out of those roles so that you're not playing those parts. And you want to take responsibility for your life without crossing someone else's boundaries. And it's all about letting go of control. If you are trying to control your husband or your children or your friends or other things in your life, you are going to be in for a really frustrating, hair-pulling life. Because the bottom line is we can't control other people, what they do, what they say, how they choose to live their lives. We can't and we shouldn't. And other people should not be controlling us as well. It goes both ways.
That is so good. That's so fundamental, I think, just that we can't control, so we can't motivate anybody to do anything, right? We can't motivate our kids to do their homework. We can't motivate our parents to, want the same things we want. We just have to worry about ourselves and not, let them deal with their emotions and their wishes and dreams, I guess.
I mean, we can try to motivate them by it in a loving and respectful way, as far as, we can talk to them, and we can also implement, like with the kids, when I was talking about how you can say, well, you don't get ice cream if you don't clean up. That's a motivation for them, but they can still make the choice. So you're still giving them a choice to decide whether or not they want to take the offer or not. And with your husband, you could still say respectfully, I'm not able to deal with the lawnmower in my kitchen, which is not realistic, but I'm not able to deal with this in my kitchen, but I'm happy to move it. I'm happy to have you move it to a space where it's more convenient for you, where you like to hang out. And that would be fine. So you give them choices, but you also know how to say, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. Okay. So for example, let's say that, I was thinking of, hold on a second. You know what? I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm having a hot flash too, so that's why. Hot flash, train of thought.
I'll ban you from here, from Pennsylvania. So how do you say no then? Like, how do you do it without, and you talked a little bit about this, without feeling mean? Like, how do you do this in love? How do you get this across, especially if this is new, right? If this is not something that you've been practicing, how do you say, I'm just not okay with that, or I'm not going to do what you want me to do. I'm not going to, I don't know. How do you do that? Does it just come with practice? What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I think that the reason we feel mean and what happens so much of the time is that this other person doesn't cooperate in the way that we want them to. And that makes we feel like then they're taking away our choices, and we feel very frustrated, and we feel like we have no choices, because if we go this way, then we make them upset with us, and if we go this way, then we're not able to take care of ourselves. So we react then. So we react in hostile ways, or by getting angry. And this is also, that's more of a child. So if you can almost think in terms of adulting and being a child doesn't have choices. And so a lot of times they react in anger and they just throw up all over the place because they don't feel like they have any choices. But as an adult, we do have choices. So now they may not be comfortable. It might be two, not very good choices. Like one choice might be, is there anyone out there that can give an example of a time when they felt like they had to set up a boundary, but it made them feel mean, and they felt out of control, and they didn't feel like they had a choice? I'm just wondering, I can't see anybody's comments, so I don't know.
Yeah, no, we don't. I don't.
Are they not?
I don't think we have any new ones at this point, but maybe someone will chime in and give us an example. But I'm kind of thinking like, my kid, actually, my kids trashed the kitchen last night, and I really like to have a clean kitchen, but we were out at a football game, and then we had an open house. We didn't get home until like 8:00 last night. So I just left it. And guess what? It's still there. The kitchen is still, there's like dirty dishes. And I'm just going to wait and see what happens, because I'm not going to be the only one who cleans up. So we'll see how that goes.
So have you talked to them and told, do they have clear instructions as to what they're specifically supposed to do when they're done being in the kitchen?
They do. And I mean, the problem was that the dishwasher was full and clean. So they probably noticed that and were like, well, it's not my turn to empty the dishwasher. Like nobody told me to do that. So,
so here's an idea. One of the things you could do is you could say, I will only make dinner. I love to make dinner for you. And I want to make dinner for you, but we also have, bread and peanut butter as an alternative. And I will make dinner for you in a clean kitchen. Mm-hmm. So if the kitchen's clean, I'm happy to make dinner for you. Mm-hmm. If the kitchen's not clean, then you guys, there's peanut butter and jelly and some bread, and feel free to help yourselves. And feel free to make a bigger mess. Because as long as the kitchen's dirty, I don't have to clean, and guess what? Or I don't have to cook, and guess what? Awesome! And then you go out and get yourself a burger at, Five Guys Burgers or whatever it's called.
And I don't have to get mad.
Exactly. You see, you got to make this work for you, Or alternatively, you could clean up after them, and then you could clean up after them, but then you have to recognize that that's your choice. We can't ever blame someone else. This is where I ran into trouble a lot. Mm-hmm. I would enable people in my life to use me and abuse me, and then I would get mad at them, but really I couldn't blame them because I was enabling them.
Because you allowed them to.
Exactly. I chose myself to take responsibility, to take what was their responsibility, for example, them mowing their lawn, and I went over there and mowed it for them. Well, who's going to mow their own lawn if someone's always coming over and mowing it for them? That's just human nature.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like these kids are not going to be like, oh, can I please empty the dishwasher today, Mom? I'd just really love to do that. So it's kind of silly for me to expect that they're going to jump in and do that. Yeah, I think I probably need to get a schedule going a little bit more organized there. I mean, if there's someone there, I'll just send them to do it, but I wasn't home, and nobody took the initiative. So maybe I'm just expecting a little too much initiative from children.
Yeah, I definitely think that initiative for kids is definitely non-existent. You have to be outward. You have to kind of provide those. The parent has to kind of provide those outward motivations. But one other thing that I was going to say is that whenever you're starting to feel those feelings of out of control, I know this feeling well. It's starting to well up inside of you, and everywhere you look in your house, it's like mess over there and a little mess over here, and you can tell that your kids and your spouse or roommates or whoever they've been there. They've been there, they've done their thing, and then they've walked away. And those messes are all over the place, and you start or even it doesn't have to be just taking care of your home. It could be other areas of your life where you're feeling these strong emotions are happening on a regular basis. That's when you need to sit down and write down get it out of your brain, because it's rattling around in your brain. I'm being bothered. I'm being emotional. Something's freaking me out, and I'm feeling totally stressed. Sit down and really think through all of the things that are completely stressing you out and get them down on paper. Because once they're in black and white, that's when you can actually strategize ways to deal with each one of those things. So if you're feeling like your house is out of control and nothing is being kept up, maybe you're able to keep the picking up done, but you're not able to keep the cleaning, the toilets and the kitchen sink. And, I haven't cleaned my kitchen sink in 3 weeks, and I've been looking at it thinking I really should clean my kitchen sink. And start making a list of all those areas that are really driving you batty. And then rally the troops, if you've got some troops in your house, and have a half an hour of a cleaning time. And and that's just one way that you can strategize that particular area. If there's other areas in your life, write them down, and then you can figure out ways to fix those areas. But that again is adulting. That's taking control. I can't control them, but I can control my own life. I can control what goes on in here. I can control my environment. I can control my whether or not I'm taking care of myself. If you're taking care of everybody else's lawns, you're mowing everyone's lawns and your own, you are going to burn out. And that's going to raise your cortisol levels. It's going to freak out your hormones. Pretty soon you're going to be on anti-anxiety drugs and antidepressant drugs. And I've been there. I'm still doing it in some ways. So I'm still recovering from what's happened in my life. But, eventually you want to be getting a hold of all of those things and taking them under control in your own life and letting everybody else's stuff go.
Oh, that's so good. So just get it all on paper, and then you can make a plan and be an adult instead of just reacting and trying to enable and fight everybody else's fires.
Exactly.
Fight your own fires. Cool. Okay, so you have a free mini course that people can sign up for, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that, and tell us about your membership site and what you do? Yeah.
So 3 months ago, I started a membership site for it's for Christian women or women who are who have come out of who are in religious circles, run in religious circles, that are in destructive marriage relationships. They're either still living with a destructive spouse, or they're separated, or some of them are actually divorced. It's post-divorce. Or some of them are just, they don't really know that they're living with a destructive spouse, but they know that their marriage is extremely painful, and they're very confused about what's going on. So the membership site is just a lot of hand-holding, weekly emails, videos, Facebook question and answer times, dealing with healing from the emotional backlash of dealing with an emotionally destructive marriage. So that's that site. My the little free course that I have going on right now, it's going to run from now until Sunday night. And I think Sarah's going to put a link up to it. You can sign up. It's a 12-day little mini course. All it is you get 12 emails, one each day, and it just talks about emotional self-awareness, how to be aware of your emotions and what to do about those emotions. And it all dovetails so beautifully with boundaries, because what we want to do, the goal is to grow up from being children who are constantly reacting to all of the sand, the other kids in the sand box throwing sand at us, so that we're not throwing sand back, but so that we're growing up into adults and actually leaving the childish sandbox behind, so we can move on and have control over our lives and let other things go. And it's a painful process. Growing up is painful, but I would have to say that until about I began my growing up process about 7 years ago, and I'm 50. I'll be 51 pretty soon. So what is that? 44 or 45 years old, and I still feel. I look back on that time, and I was still a child, acting like a child, reacting like a child, and it was all centered around boundaries. So the mini course sort of goes into a little bit of that too. And even if, so anyway, it's free. There's no obligation. You just sign up, and you'll just get an email every day, and you can take it from there.
Awesome. Okay, we had the link up there, so I think it's clickable. I'll make sure it gets into the comments afterwards as well. But we have it on the screen right now, so that is awesome. I don't see any questions. If you guys have any questions, you can pop them into the comments here real quick. But I think we have covered pretty much everything. I think I think the real key is that this stuff is hard, but it is part of being an adult, and it feels so good. I think when you understand that it's okay to say no, and you take care of yourself and you let others take care of themselves, even with kids, like you said, that is just hugely freeing. Just such fantastic news. So I just love that.
There was one comment that you had sent to me earlier, where someone had originally wondered, they had just moved into a new home and were responsible for all of the packing and sorting and cleaning. And because their husband was working part-time and was in school, he was too tired to help out with all of that. So in a situation like that, where there are some extenuating circumstances, you could still sit down with your partner and talk to them about what you would be able to do and what they would be able to do, so that you could work it out together. And if neither one of you is able to do, if he couldn't pitch in because he's just too tired, that's a valid concern. Then maybe you could figure out a way that you could pay someone to come in and help you, get some outside help, or maybe someone from your support community could come in and help you out for free. Those are other ways to get help. And you could also say, since I'm doing the bulk of it, I'm wondering if you can't help, but I'm wondering if you could find someone to help me. Would you be willing to just ask around with your friends and see if any of your friends could help me, since you're not able to help me? So at least give them that option to help you in that way. Now, if that person, if your spouse is not interested in helping you, and this is a chronic issue where they just never help you, and they tend to be self-centered and that kind of thing, then you really should head over to my website, and I have some articles that might help you deal with a spouse who's selfish and is not able to meet you halfway and is not supportive of you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you click through on the link, you're going to get lost. You're going to be there for half an hour reading. The time is going to go by. It's so good. I can vouch for it. Every time Natalie puts out a new post, I'm like on top of it. And it's so good. So highly, highly recommended. It's amazing stuff. All right. Well, I think, I don't know. I'm just really glad that you spent some time with me here today, Natalie. I totally appreciate,
It was fun.
Hanging out. And I guess we are good to go here. I will end broadcast and we will talk with you guys later. Bye.
Bye.